Hey everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to Ready Set Crypto. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of April. Welcome aboard. Good to see everybody out there. One of my favorite things to do every week is to rap with y'all out there. So let me know where you guys are coming in from, where are you located, right? And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to get around to your requests, your coins, the ones that you want to take a look at. So we will get there in a few minutes. Right, so go ahead, hit the thumbs up button, let everybody know that we have gotten started. We'll be here for about the next half hour or so. I'll be taking your requests and look at coins. We're going to look at charts. We're going to see what's going on. Who's in charge? Is it distribution or do we have accumulation in the markets? All right, let's take a look. We're going to go out to the charts. I'm just going to talk here for a minute. The U.S. dollar seems to be on a death spiral to the downside, and this has not helped with recent news from Saudi Arabia and their push on things. So we'll see whether or not, it's going to take a long time before we get away from a dollar standard. So even though there's a lot of countries that would like to push that out there, it's going to take a while. All right, so we have MAF coming in from Seattle. We have Close Effect Studio coming in from Ohio. Tell me where in Ohio you're coming from. This is where I moved from. I moved from Ohio to get down here to South Carolina. And we got Andy coming in from Knoxville, Tennessee. Outstanding. Good to see you. All right. Hello from South Africa. We got Noza Capital. What time of day is it out there? Is it first thing in the morning or time of day? Ashtabula County, north of Cleveland. Yeah, I grew up in Lakewood. Jason coming in from Orlando. Man, I don't know how you drive around there, Jason. It is just, I don't know how you get around in Orlando. Middle of nowhere. Cool. 9 p.m. Wow. Hey, we got Jack coming in from Darwin. All right. So I'm going to go back to the charts for a second here. So this is the U.S. dollar. Go ahead, as you stumble into the room here, let me know what's going on, where you're coming in from, and eventually what you'd like to look at, what kind of crypto pairs that you want to look at. So the indices, the dollar index has been going down. The bonds have also been really weak in terms of yields. So bond yields are coming down, and because of that, the Fed's just about done, right? So are the banks going to hang in there? If we have more trouble with the banks, we will see more money coming into crypto. It is literally the only hedge right now. You do not want to get into central bank digital currencies. Do not do it, no matter what. So today's newsletter, I talked about Liz Warren is all for central bank digital currencies, and she wants to outlaw crypto. Man, they are making it tough on crypto in the States. Really tough. Bittrex just basically gave up. Bittrex was one of the first brokers I used when I was doing bot trading because they had a great API and they had pretty good rates, and they had a lot of coins that they supported. And I've had to move everything out of there. So they are belly up. They're going out of it. All right, let's see who else we got out there. We got, hey, Bob. Thanks for stopping by. We got Driver Hago from Bern, Switzerland. We got Randall McMurphy. And, all right, that's cool. That's cool. So those are bond yields, and that doesn't exactly generate a whole lot of confidence when we have yields going down like that. So right now, the Fed funds futures show that as of May, there's more than a 51% chance that the Fed is not going to hike in May, and that might be good for what we do. All right. So a quick look at Bitcoin before I get out to everything else. So what I'm looking at here, guys, is we have a big consolidation, and this has wound up a lot of energy, just a ton of energy. This thing has got so much potential to move. not only on the daily chart, but even the weekly chart now is starting to wake up. So it was in exhaustion on the initial move off of the bottom and has done the dirty work to recoil. So let me bring up my pen, get my pen going here. And I want to point out a couple of things to you guys. So let's get this thing over here. And got full screen. Yeah, let's go for it. Okay, so one of the things that I see in these all the time is that everybody expects these to break higher, right? So when we coil like this is a typical bullish pattern. It should break higher, but what's happened so far this year? Every time we coil, we end up dropping down before going higher. This is one of the only times that we've actually coiled and broke higher from there. So look at this coil. We actually drop down first, then it goes higher. Coils up, drops down first, goes higher. Coils up, which way is it going to go from here? So a lot of people talking about 30,000 and everything like that. What I'd actually like to see it do is I'd like to see it drop down to 25,000. There's some reasons for that. So first of all, there's a swing test there. There's a strong swing test just above 25,000. If we look at the anchored VWAP from the beginning of the year and also from the latest major low back in March 10th, we see a tremendous amount of support right around this area. So the yellow line is the anchored VWAP to this move here, and the blue line is the anchored VWAP to the beginning of the year. Red line is 50-day moving average. So I would say we'd probably come down to this area of support, real strong like, and if that did happen, this would be on some kind of bad news, right? So all of a sudden crypto recoils in horror, right? Because somebody says, oh, I hate crypto and I'm going to ban it and we're going to go after everybody. The initial knee-jerk reaction would be to the downside, but eventually saner heads would prevail and we'd see this rip off from here. So I'm going to be looking to accumulate if we get down to 25,000 and we show accumulation. So if the price looks to be starting to move off on a much smaller time frame, so we get down to 25,000 and then I see a small time frame like this, like 5-minute or 12-minute, something like that, making higher highs and higher lows. All right, who else we got out there? Let's see. Dizzy Lizzy. Hey, it's RJ coming in from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Outstanding. All right, so let me get over to your requests without further ado, and let's take a look here. The first one that came in was, well, I guess we just did BTC for Nosa Capital, so let's go look at Matic, which is Polygon. So what's happening with Polygon? Polygon started off the year awesome and has since pulled down. Now we can see this a little bit better if we go on a weekly chart. So weekly chart doesn't look all that bad. However, it needs to hold this pivot here at about $1.10. It needs to hold that level and start to accumulate. Right now, Polygon, nobody's quite sure what to do with Polygon. Nobody's quite sure what to do with Polygon. So the market, it's not whether or not you and I think that Polygon is a good project or anything like that. It's what the market's perception of it is. That determines the accumulation or distribution behind something. I'd like to see it get above this 50-day moving average in red. That would be probably a good hurdle. It's doing a good job of staying above the 200. So there's nothing wrong with it. The problem is just not going anywhere right now. So that's a nasty weekly pullback, and it needs to be trading above, I'd say 1.2 to start to gather some attention. All right, so that's for Nosa Capital. Nosa Capital. Okay, let's see who else out there. Yeah, that's from South Africa. Okay, Bob, we're going to take a look at Theta versus the US dollar. Let's take a look at Theta. And we're going to go into crypto. Okay, so let's do Theta token. So it's almost the same thing. Almost the same thing as the Now, this thing has been basing for a long period of time. Sometimes you have to zoom out and see what's actually happening here. If you go out to the weekly chart, it's your reaction should be, oh, right? Oh, look at that. So it's got some work to do before it's going to go back into accumulation again. So it's just now starting to peel off the 200-week moving average. But what you're seeing here is this is a big basing pattern. And you have to be patient with these basing patterns. It's going in between maybe like 75 cents up to $1.50, just sort of wandering around back in that area. And it may start to lift off. But what I would do is I would wait until you get the weekly chart showing higher highs and higher lows. So is the weekly chart making higher highs and higher lows yet? Not really. Not really. It's getting there. So for the weekly chart to do this, it would have to start. We have to zoom so far into this. So we've had a few good weeks on this, but it needs to get above 1.3. 1.3, and then we start to see a change in polarity to the upside. It starts to lift off from this base, and then that will catch some attention. Remember, there's thousands of different coins out there, all screaming for attention and for investment. And something typically has to move either fundamentally to attract attention because people think, wow, this is a great project and I want to get in early, or it can just simply be FOMO. When it starts to run and it starts to fire off some alarms, people say, hey, did you see that thing moving? Kind of like what happened to Dogecoin a couple of days ago. So this one's really, really early, and it's still way, way down in the base. So it may have some, we were following this thing way back here, had a hell of a 21, all the way up to 14, and then it's just, this looks like every other altcoin right now. So it's in the base. You've got to be patient, waiting for it to get out of the base. All right. That's for Bob. And for Randall McMurphy. And for Close Effect Studio. All right. So let's see. Maf wants to take a look at, now we've already looked at Matic. So we'll look at CFX on KuCoin. Can I see it on KuCoin? Yeah, I suppose so. Looks like we have it there. Okay, cool. All right, this is a weekly chart. So let's look at the daily chart. And we've got some nice action with the VWAPs for the beginning of the year. The volume-weighted average price is showing nice support right now. So this thing is climbing up. Let's see, what kind of view on the weekly chart? So this thing was in a horrible, it's really been working since the beginning of the year. And so I would use these anchored VWAPs as dynamic support because you really don't have anything else right now as support and resistance to go off of. You've got very small pivots. So a move back down to somewhere like 25 cents would be an automatic buy point from this. But right now it's holding the anchored VWAP from the March 10 bottom. So it's doing a pretty good job. It's very, very early in this one at 40 cents. So that's for MAF. So I don't know what Dizzy Lizzy is. I don't know if there is such a coin. No. Okay, so I've been trolled. I love it. Okay, so RJ wants to look at AVAX. Okay, so AVAX. All right, so I can't see much right now, so I'm going to zoom out, get some perspective here. Hey, Andy. And let's see, let's restart the chart view. Okay, so now we're seeing kind of the head and shoulders sort of thing. So this is the same thing here. We have a long base. It's been a long winter in the base, right? So when does it get out of this base? Probably as it trades above 30. And I wouldn't be chasing it down in this area. Nobody gets a medal for getting the bottom tick of a market, right? So just make it simple on yourself. When these things take off, It's so easy, right? All you got to do, it's like fishing in one of those trout ponds. Just throw a hook, a bare hook into the water, and you can pick something up, right? So I'm more of a fan of easy markets, and then I'm more of a fan of avoiding stuff when they do this, right? Easy markets. So wait till this thing breaks out of 30 on good volume, and then things will be, or should be, much easier for you. Okay, let's see. Next one is, that's for RJ. Nicholas wants to look at XRP. Okay, so Ripple, we talked about Ripple being in this big base. Now, Ripple is threatening to break out of this guy. But I warned you guys that it was probably going to sit up there near 55. If we look at this on RSI, let's see, we have close to exhaustion up on the weekly chart. And there's also a bunch of sell orders just sitting up there. So this is a big base. This one's been building for a long time. This is showing you guys, this is a great example of like the patience that you need to have to wait for things to move and don't chase after that. So what we talked about over the last few weeks in these calls was, hey, this thing's probably going to get from 40 up to the top of the base here at 55. It's a great place to sell and let everything play out and wait until it finally breaks out above 60. Okay? So I said that, and I've taken no end of shit from the amount of comments that are on YouTube. But I'm not about, there's such a religion to like, you've got to get the bottom tick, you got to be buying all the way down, and that's bullshit, guys. It's bullshit. You don't want to be doing that. There's no fun holding dollar cost averaging all the way down here and just being underwater for years at a time, and then finally someday you get your glory, right? That's not for me, right? I would rather be very light on my feet, look for periods of edge, get in, get my fair share, get out. And then if the market's in accumulation, then I'll get back in again. I can always get back in. It doesn't matter, right? It's a free world. Okay, next one. So that's Ripple right now. Ripple is, let's take a look here. So Ripple's just kind of flagging out underneath 55, and it's going to probably do that for quite some time. But when it does break out above 55, it's got to do so on big time volume. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of overhead supply up there to absorb everybody that wants to buy the breakout. And if the breakout fails and goes back into the pattern, then sell out. Don't hold it. Don't sit there and carry baggage for the next few years. Wait until this thing gets above there. Okay, so somebody, let's see, you want to look at NEO. Let's look at NEO versus Tether. Okay. $140 NEO. Ouch. Let's look at the weekly chart. What's going on here? Ooh, you got in at the highs. somebody had to buy at the highs. We've all done that. We've all done that. Okay, so NEO is also creating a base down here, so it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. Remember, NEO was just unbelievable. This thing was. I don't know what that beep was. This thing was, oh yeah, it was way back here. It was like when this thing was new, it was just a rock star. Unreal. Okay, so that's NEO. NEO's got to work itself out of a base. Okay, hey Coob, how we doing out there? Mr. Coob, coming in from the left coast. All right, and we will take a look at Phantom for you. All right, Phantom versus dollar. All right, so this is, it looks like Phantom has gotten out of its base and is flagging out now in the weekly chart. So it actually looks like Phantom has, it's kind of like an airplane, right? Stumbling down the runway, stumbling down the runway, stumbling, getting to the very edge of the runway and finally lifting up just above the trees at the end of the runway, right? So it's got up to about 1,000 feet and it doesn't really have the power to climb much further, right? It's just, kind of bumbling around. So it took so much effort to get this thing up here that it's trying to acclimate this to the new altitude up here, which is somewhere in between 35 to 65 cents. So I would look for this to break above. There's a couple of ways you could look for this, right? So obviously look for this to be breaking above. This is just a big symmetrical triangle working towards the apex of this. Building up a lot of energy, but I would want to see this thing break at about 54 cents to show you that it's on the next leg for this. Okay. All right. Thanks, Goob. All right. Andy is looking for chain links. So we'll be here for about another 10 minutes, guys. So if there's any final requests. Oh, Chainlink is just horrendously ugly. What is that? Chainlink's in a base, right? This is one thing that you're going to hear about today is like it's in a base. It's in a base. So we've gotten some of these. We've gotten some of these to break out of the base. But until it breaks above 10, Chainlink is grounded. Chainlink is grounded. So in the base, and Chainlink was just like the biggest rock star coin during so much of this time. I mean, like all of the bear market stuff, Chainlink was the only shining example throughout the bear, right? And so finally this thing really took off. I mean, what did this go from? So from 40 cents up to $52. Good Lord. And then as quick as it went up, it went down again. So it's building up a base. We know that it can do it again, but it's going to have to break above $10 on Chainlink, Andy. Okay, Math, we'll take a look at Ethereum. All right, Ethereum is looking pretty good. Actually, today is one of the better movers. So what do we see about this? We see a former weekly. This is the weekly chart. So what do we see here? Former greenskeeper about to become the next Masters champion. What do we see here? We see a higher low moving up to what could be a higher high. So we're really close, and it's going to be right at 2,000. It's going to be a war. It's going to be a war right there at 2,000. So this is going to be tough to get through on the first time. But this is a higher low. So if we look at this, the former downtrend pivots, plants its foot, and puts on a higher low on the weekly chart and starts to rip from here. So everything looks really fundamentally on the technical chart really good. And this is one, I think there's some kind of, there's some kind of fundamental event coming up soon with Ethereum. You guys know more about that than I do. I'm just an idiot savant that looks at charts. But I like how this one's going. It's just that, Math, you got to know there's going to be a war up here at 2,000. So be prepared for some tough times. Not saying it's going to hit this level and fall down like a shot bird or something like that. It's just going to have a difficult time breaking out above 2,000. Okay, RJ wants to look at Binance Coin. So we've had our share of FUD with Binance, right? So remove. Okay. Binance Coin has, if you look at this, there's absolutely no trend whatsoever. So this has just been chop, 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 chop. And the chop has been going between, say, like 220 up to 350. And so there's just no pattern from this. So right now, your choice, if you want to trade this, you can try to get in at the lows and then sell out the highs. But this could stay in this pattern for as long as it wants to. Right now, there's no linearity to it at all. Okay. We have cleared the list. So unless I see something coming up here in the next couple of seconds, I want to thank everybody and remind you guys to please, if you're looking for any kind of assistance with crypto, check us out at ReadySetCrypto.ONE. ReadySetCrypto.ONE. All right, so there's a request coming in. Cake versus BTC. Let's take a look at Cake versus Bitcoin. Ouch! Okay, so the problem is any crypto that you have versus BTC, right now BTC's been fairly strong. So if this goes up in value, your whole fraction goes down, right? So your coin has got to be that much stronger than BTC if you're going to use it. So that's the problem that you got right now, Lucian, because this is going inverse. You're shorting BTC and BTC is going higher. So if we look at Cake versus the US dollar, we're probably going to see a completely different chart. Well, it's not all that different, but it's still pretty sloppy. It's a great big. Let's see if we see something here on the weekly chart. No, we don't. This is a bear flag, if anything. All right, guys. So again, check us out, ReadySetCrypto.ONE, or I'm also over at elite.readyset.trade if you trade the equity markets as well, too. All right, we got everything covered. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for showing up big time. Love talking to you guys. We will see you next week. Adios, amigos. Hasta la vista.